Welcome back to Moving with Meaning. I'm your host, Krystal. All month long, our mission maintenance series has been about pressing pause on autopilot, reconnecting to vision, and giving ourselves permission to grow with grace. This series has been about reclaiming clarity, conviction, and care, so we don't just finish strong, we finish aligned. We started by getting real about the fatigue that comes with mission driven leadership, acknowledging the emotional weight, and learning how to rest without abandoning the mission. Well, next, we focused on reevaluating what still matters and letting go of goals that no longer align, freeing up all that energy and focus for what's relevant right now. Then we lean into growth, exploring how leadership maturity shifts your priorities and how allowing your mission to evolve alongside you is a sign of strength, not inconsistency. Most recently, we dug into progress without burnout, learning how to break down the big vision into small, sacred moves that keep you consistent, energized, and on track. Well, and now we land the plane and bring it all together. So today's episode is Measure What Matters. In a results-obsessed culture, it's tempting to define success by vanity metrics, numbers, titles, likes, or busy calendars. But leadership rooted in meaning, asks a deeper question. Are your actions aligned with your mission? When you measure what truly matters, impact, alignment, and connection, you stop chasing noise and start leading with purpose. Well, in this episode, we'll be discussing redefining success. Learn how to measure leadership by impact and alignment, not just by numbers or titles. Reconnecting with people. Explore how reconnecting with your audience, team, or community recenters your mission and meaning. And last, measuring by meaning. Discover how to track leadership through purpose-driven outcomes instead of vanity metrics. All right, let's bring this whole mission maintenance journey home. If you've been with me since the first episode in this series, you will know we've been doing the leadership version of cleaning out a closet. First, we admitted the closet was just too full. We owned the fatigue of mission-driven leadership. Then, we started pulling things off the rack, deciding what still fits and what just doesn't serve us anymore. Next, we gave ourselves permission to update the style, making space for change and expansion. And then we got practical, reorganizing one hanger at a time so we wouldn't burn out in the process. Now, this last step isn't about how much you've achieved. It's about whether your achievements are aligned with what matters most. Just like a closet, your mission should leave you feeling lighter, clearer, and more confident every time you open it. Let's kick this episode off with a summary of today's focus. Here we go. In a culture obsessed with numbers, it's easy to chase metrics and miss meaning. Purpose is the anchor. It keeps your leadership grounded, your vision clear, and your energy invested where it matters most. When you measure by impact instead of vanity stats, you stop chasing approval and start creating legacy. Woo-way! I love it. I get chills every time. But you know what? We're just doubling down on everything that we've been saying as we've been moving through this series. A lot about refocusing and putting energy towards areas where it matters not only most, but when I say matters most, it matters most to you. Okay, not to others. And that's where we stop seeking approval or validation from all those external individuals. And we start looking at creating a legacy, right? So when we leave somewhere, it's like we leave a mark, right? There's always a lasting impression of who you are wherever you've left because that's your legacy, all right? Trust me, it goes a long way. So why bother shifting the scorecard? Well, that's because how you measure determines how you lead. I like that. Let's talk about what you gain when you return to purpose over performance. Benefit 1, clarity in direction. By measuring what matters, you focus your energy on goals that actually move the mission forward. Yes, so we've all talked about clarity, okay? And I like this particular benefit because it's specific about the clarity, right? And it's about direction. Am I measuring what matters and that I can tell I'm going into the same direction, okay? And we'll get into kind of the different things that you measure. They're not as easy as numbers, right? Things like that you can kind of really quickly calculate. It's not the same. So how you do all of that, it is important because you it kind of reignites that fire, and it keeps motivating you, and it improves your confidence. So that's benefit number one. Next one is deeper engagement. When success is tied to meaning, your team and community feel valued, not just used. Ooh, so here's the thing. Yes, when we're looking at a resume and we're interviewing people, we're looking at how well you will fit with the team, but also like your skills, your characteristics, your mindset, and how well that can be used to help further whatever mission that business is looking to achieve at that point in time. Maybe it's growing a team or whatever, but at the end of the day, when you've tied your mission to success and to meaning with the measures that you have, your engagement with the team is deeper. Like there's a level of value in there. So, right, when you're giving coaching or feedback or criticism, it means something. Okay. And they're more appreciative, and you can be more blunt, right? Because they know the conversation and the words that you're using are, you know, you mean well by them, right? We ain't got time to be cutting through stuff and be nice about it. I'm telling you the real deal so that you know where you are and where you can be, okay? And where you need to start focusing your energy on. It works every time. I really encourage folks to do that. All right. Last benefit, sustainable growth, purpose-driven metrics prevent burnout by rewarding progress, not just pressure. Yeah, you know what? These days, people try to lead by fear. And I think it's starting to kind of tailor off a little bit, but here's what I'm saying. I came from that space, and I kind of every now and then I may be in that space every now and then because I'm scared. Like I don't want my job to be let off. I don't want to say something because they get offended. Like I don't want to do all that because it's a lot of pressure and I'm scared. But what I always make sure to say is that, okay, this scares me. I know this doesn't feel well. When I'm leading my team, am I doing that same thing? Right? Am I leading them by fear, or am I building trust in them and things like that? So make sure that even if you experience something negative like that, you're not carrying that forward as the model to do. Okay, it is not, absolutely. So just think about that, right? Because these are metrics that help align with who you are and who you want to be. All right, now that all sounds great, but how does it look in action? Let's get right into some professional and personal moments where leaders ditch vanity metrics and embrace meaningful measures. Okay, so I have organized these by the different objectives that I had in the intro, and I'll do a personal and a professional scenario for each one. So the first objective that we discussed was redefining success. So personal scenario number one, the networker. Rather than stressing about attending 5 networking events, they walk away proud after one meaningful conversation that sparks growth and opportunity. You know what? I like this. So here's the thing. Okay, so I've had this in a professional setting, but I've also had it in a personal setting. And you know, when you're kind of at a conference, or I'm not a conference, I'm sorry, at a social media, a social gathering. Uh, and there's a lot of people, and you're just kind of making your way through each one of them. And sometimes you're not. Like I'll hover in the corner and kind of stay or whatever. And then there's different people that just kind of come up and say, "I've seen you," whatever else. And for some reason, they're in that moment, the conversation that we're having, I end up being very, I don't want to say, I guess maybe vulnerable, but I'm very honest and open. And it's kind of like, this is good. Like, I'm really glad I ran into you. I've had people say that. And I think that's important, right? Is that you choose when to use those storytelling skills and your vulnerability and your lived experience in those spaces. It makes a world of difference. You don't even remember all the people that you met, but you do remember that one. It's very powerful. All right, professional scenario number one for redefining success, the sales leader. So instead of chasing quarterly sales numbers just to beat last year's stats, they redefine success by how many clients renew partnerships because of trust and service. Longevity, not vanity metrics, becomes the true measure. So I equate this honestly to retention. Okay, so job retention, how many people will stay working for you, how many people leave, and how many people like the company and things all that other nature, right? There's a lot of people who know, and they're in a company where they're very unhappy, but because the company provides a lot of flexibility, they stay. They may not offer a lot of opportunity for growth or anything. So it's like one of those things, well, I'm gonna stay for the comfort and flexibility, but it's like at what cost? Because if I get laid off or if I decide that I have to leave and whatever else, I'm gonna go into a market that's saturated with people with skills that I don't have, but in my years of experience don't even align with how much skills I should have. And I'm going to compete with them. So it's just very important to just look at not only retention, but how you offer growth in that space that these folks are in. That's very important to consider. Okay. All right. So now we're going to move into the next objective, reconnecting with people. Personal scenario number 2, the friend. Caught up in deadlines, they notice months have passed without checking in on their best friend. A 30-minute call rekindles connection and replenishes energy. Yeah, and I think this is a very generalized persona, right? The friend. But I ain't gonna lie, I'm probably that friend. Okay. And it's not on purpose. It's just I have so much going on in my life. So if I'm ever checking in on you or anything like that, it's just because you ran across my mind. I'm like, I haven't heard from her in so long. Let's just check in, right? And I'm not gonna lie, some of those 30-minute calls, they turn in 1-2 hour calls because we've caught up on so much and we pick up where we left off. It's so invigorating, right? And for those that I do have like a small set, maybe 2-3 that I talk to daily, right? Way frequently. So even those, it does matter because you do check in, and we just do that because sometimes we've had a bad week, a bad day or something. So whatever frequency and level you on with each one of those friends, just do those little check-ins. It's cool. Schedule them. We've been talking about blocking time. Go ahead and block that in there. Okay. All right. Professional scenario number 2, the team manager shifts focus from dashboards and reports to monthly listening sessions with their team. Trust rebuilds, morale rises, and people feel valued beyond their output. And you know what? I like these. You can call them empathy sessions, B-fests. I don't know, whatever you want to call vent sessions, whatever, but just giving folks that space. Now, I do have certain times and review periods or whatever, and I think it's good because there's a delivery life cycle, agile scrum, if you've heard of it, but they have what's called retrospects of what happened in the last 2 or 4 weeks, and everyone says, okay, what went well, what didn't, and where can we improve, things like that. And so those, actually, I love that part about that particular model, is those reflections, because you must do it. And I think just we don't need to wait till we're in that particular type of delivery model to actually put those pieces together or do that particular ceremony. So I like it. I really do. All right. Last objective was measuring by meaning, not vanity. Personal scenario number 3, the social sharer posts a milestone on social media and instead of fixating on likes, celebrates 2 heartfelt DMs from peers thanking them for inspiration. You know what? This is me. I'm not going to lie to you. I was chasing those numbers. I was like, how many impressions am I hitting? How many people are viewing it or whatever else? And I just wasn't focused on the folks who were liking. Because there are a lot of people who see your posts, they will not comment, and they won't like it. They don't want to stand out. They don't want to look at it and be like, oh, I want to be the first like. They want to be within the group of likes. So if they see, oh, you've got 50 likes or 100 likes or above that, they'll be compelled to hit the like. But a lot of times, I'm not going to lie to you, I get personal DMs that say, from a lot of people that say, I really like that message. They will not post. They will not hit a like. They won't respond or comment or anything, but they will email me separately and say, you did something for me today, girl. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm going to keep going. Those likes and numbers like that don't mean nothing. I'm hitting people harder than I thought I was. All right, last one. Professional scenario number 3, the nonprofit director stops counting events hosted and instead tracks real life outcomes like jobs secured or mentorships formed. Impact becomes the story, not image. And I like this. And this is great for a lot of shelters. Okay, how many people they've rehoused. So if you look at the different shelters and maybe halfway houses and treatment programs and things like that, that's really important. They do change. Their metrics are, just the ones that they share with me in these public forums, they're about people who are rehoused, people who don't, who go on to get their degree, things like that, like how they get placed and all that kind of stuff, the success rates, that's how they look at their mission, because that is aligned to their mission. It's not about how many intakes are they having, how many grants and money they receive, whatever else. They don't do that. And I really appreciate that. And it's so powerful. You don't realize how, if you change your metrics, how much more invested you are in your mission. But I'm not gonna get ahead. All right. The obvious is, if it were easy, everyone would be doing it. So why do so many leaders fall back on numbers that look shiny but don't mean much? All right. I'm actually excited about these, so let's get into it. Frustration number one, metrics mania. Leaders get so locked into hitting numbers and reporting dashboards that they forget why the goals were set in the first place. The why gets buried under the what. So here, and I love this. Okay, and this is something that I recently went through in a professional setting. Okay, and I was training one of my developers, and she was struggling. Okay, not in a bad way. Just she was kind of like, man, I cannot recreate what we did before. And she was frustrated because she wanted to do it on her own. Like, I give this girl so many credit. Like, she's good, right? So I stopped her and I said, well, wait a minute. What we got to go back is, what were we looking for? Right? What drew us to, because we lucked up on that, right? She's like, yeah. And I said, so what about what we lucked up on drew us to it? Right? And then I got her back to rethinking what the problem was. And we got through to it. She was like, oh yeah. And I said, you know what? And that's how this is you can't, I said, it's hard, but you got to go back when you find yourself lost, you go back and say, why were we doing this? Why? And you'll get there. It always works, and it takes some time. It is not easy. It seemed like it was easy for me, but I've been doing it for so long that my brain just immediately works that way. I'm telling you, I'm very logic driven. Okay, but it's important to teach individuals about the why. It's very important. You cannot get caught up in what, but why. Why, when you're measuring the what, and this is really important too, is when you're talking to other people and you're saying, yeah, we're going to measure it by this, this, and this. The next statement on what you're going to measure, you say why this measurement is important. What does this show? What value does it bring? And you start to really whittle down with what actually matters and what actually is showing you performance and growth and where you want to be. Okay, and that's everything else is ancillary, right? It's just land, that extra whatever else. But the ones that are priority, that are high key performance indicators, those are the ones you want to keep. Those are the whys. All right, frustration number two, comparison trap. It's easy to measure success against competitors, peers, or industry benchmarks instead of the actual mission. That comparison steals clarity and adds unnecessary pressure. It does, because you're measuring success against someone else's vision, someone else's actions. And this is why it's important. And this, I'm going to do this in a good way. So my youngest, he's 10, but he's a little bitty thing, okay? So he's not as tall and he's not as plump, okay? So he's skinny, but he's athletic and he is strong. And so he's always like, something's wrong with me. I'm like, why? He's like, because I don't weigh 100 pounds. And I'm like, okay, why would you think you need to do that? He's like, well, because my friend says I need to be weighing 100 pounds. I go, why would you? I said, is he short? He was like, oh, no, he's tall. I said, so you want to put the same metrics, right, on yourself, the same expectation on yourself for someone who is, a foot taller than you, than where you are. You don't do that, because if you did that, you would be overweight and then you would be unhealthy. You got to tone it in and say, this is where I am. This is where I want to be. And I just want to make sure that I stay in alignment and I'm progressing on that same path. Do not do it based off of comparisons, based off of where you are and where you want to be. That's it. I think it clicked, because he goes, okay, I get it now. So we'll see how that goes through. But I hope that does help with a lot of things. All right, last one. Frustration is short-term survival mode. Under constant demand for quick wins, leaders default to urgent tasks rather than intentional, meaningful work. Purpose gets postponed for productivity. Yes. And we talked about that right before in the last episode, was urgency on results, right? We want things so fast, and we equate it to, oh my God, if I don't have these wins quick, like in a large way, in a short period of time, they're not going to see my value. And it's like, maybe you need to take a step back and show the value in achieving something a step at a time, right? And why that is valuable. The adoption of this, right? It shows that we are trending in a way that's sustainable, right? If I start putting everything in now, And I show them, oh yeah, this is good. And they're like, oh, keep going. I'm like, whoa, no. I exhausted myself to get you that. So now I shown them some smoke and mirrors and shown them what is possible if these things were there. But I didn't, but I overexhausted myself. So then I did overcommitment, and now I have to walk that back. So don't get yourselves set up that way, guys. Don't trap yourselves, all right? Now that we've named the struggles, like chasing numbers that don't reflect impact or losing sight of people in the process, let's flip the script. Challenges only hold power if we stop at recognition. So let's talk about strategies, practical, doable steps you can take to return to purpose in a results-obsessed culture. All right, number 1, redefine your scoreboard. Choose 3 to 5 meaningful measures that reflect impact, not just output. Yes. So immediately I want to go to how many, how much, whatever else. And those are valuable, okay? But for me, it's I'm trying to think of what it like. Has my, the people that I'm training, have they put into practice the disciplines and the teachings that I've imposed, or that I've shown them? How well are they adopting to that? How often are they empowered to have conversations with me, right? How fast do they bring up any confusions or ask questions, things like that, before they get frustrated, right? How well are they using the resources that I provided to them? Things like that. How are they able to communicate what we've learned, what she's learned, he's learned, to others, right? Are they training? Like, those are things that are meaningful to me, because I know that what I've taught them, right, which is my legacy, has taken root to the point where they are not only in putting it into practice, but they start to define their principles and their performance and leadership and so on and so forth, and they start to carry that forward. That's a good legacy. I know I'm doing it right then, right? And it makes sense. Things wouldn't take root if it didn't just click, Anyway, all right. Strategy number 2, build reflection rituals. Schedule monthly check-ins to ask, am I aligned with my mission or just chasing motion? Yep, and this is the same thing, right? We had those pivot points before where we just kind of come back in and realign, right? So we're just going to keep going on that same vein. All right. And last one, celebrate purpose-driven wins. Recognize progress that reflects your values, not just your volume. Ooh, so this is a little bit more than celebrate small wins, right? It's not that. It's celebrate the wins, even if they're small, that actually check the box of being purpose-driven. Okay. So look at that and recognize, wow, I did that. Wow. I can't believe, that they're doing my teachings, like they're not, and I can't believe they see value in that, right? If it's just one person, let it be. It's great progress. All right. So strategies done. Now here's the part that matters most, the reminder you take with you. Progress and purpose aren't found in metrics alone. They're fueled by meaning. Let's close this out with a message I want echoing in your mind all week long. Here's the truth. Numbers fade, charts change, and trophies collect dust. What lasts is the meaning you create in the lives you touch and the purpose that fuels your choices. Leadership isn't about chasing results. It's about shaping impact. So as you move through this week, measure what matters most, the difference you make, the people you uplift, and the mission you stand for. Remember, your mission was never just about metrics. It was all about meaning. I'm telling you, take that with you guys. It will change your mindset and your outlook on every choice and action that you make. All right. As a reminder, if you want more of me that delve into deeper topics, check out my podcast, Moving With Me, the podcast. I'm on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Music. Check out my website, movingwithmeaning.com. Also, if you are interested in my path to emotional resilience, I wrote my business memoir that takes you on my 8-year journey in a tough competitive environment. You can find it on Amazon by the title Embrace the Code, Cultivating Emotional Resilience in a Tough IT Culture. Here is my graphic with all of my social media connections. Hit your girl up or just follow along. Maybe something will pop out at you. Also, if you are particularly inspired by any of my conversations or episodes and think this would be a good match for your next event, I'm your gal. I'll come and speak to them. Or you're interested in converting this to a workshop, I got you covered. I'll facilitate. Perhaps this is right in line with your own experience and want to partner with me to add a bit more oxygen to that spark. I'm a coach. Maybe finding the right words for your own memoir or ebook has you all balled up in knots. Well, I'm the ghostwriter that can put your thoughts and ideas to paper. If any of those strike your interest and you just want to talk opportunities, take the first step and book me completely free using this QR code. All right, I hope you guys have enjoyed today's episode. I certainly did. Remember to lead with meaning, live with purpose. Until I see you again, just keep moving.